Hi, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to our webinar. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit more about Zambia and specifically South Luangwa. So today with me here, I have Jessica Salmon and A. Coley. They are co-owners of Flatdogs Safari Camp in South Luangwa. And conveniently, Flatdogs are situated right next to South Luangwa National Park. Very well-renowned, unspoiled grassy plains, breathtaking woodlands, and also the impressive Luangwa River. Now, when we're speaking about Zambia, the first thing that normally comes to mind is the Victoria Falls, right? Even though it's gorgeous and really does deserve a checkbox on our bucket list, Zambia also has got much more to offer, right? Now, Jessica and A, they own the Flatdogs Camp, which are basically in the Zambia area. And both of them actually have been there in and around more or less 20 years, right? You guys have been there for, yeah, I think, since 1992.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We were lucky. I was lucky enough to find it very early.
Oh, great. So just tell me, if I do decide to go to South Luangwa and use the Flatdogs as a base camp, what can I expect? What can I expect from my visit? Not just from the camp itself, but also from the South Luangwa National Park.
Well, it's an incredible area here. We're so lucky. And there are all sorts of different types of camps as well. So, you know, there's all sorts of budgets, there's all sorts of styles of safari. If people need 5-star luxury, that's also available. But for otherwise, there's lots of tented camps, which is a nice African way of, staying with wildlife and hearing lions roaring and listening to the elephants cross the river in front of you. So the park itself is very easily accessible for people. We take safaris in open vehicles. We can do night drives here, which is really exciting for people because sometimes they've never been able to do a night safari, and you get to see the nocturnal animals like hyenas and porcupine and civet cats and all sorts like that. But we're also able to do walking safaris inside the national park, which is a fantastic opportunity to explore on foot. Slightly adrenaline increasing because you're walking where animals live. But there's a national park scout who carries a weapon to protect you if there is a problem. But the guides are very, very well trained, and they're really good at explaining what you're seeing, but also keeping you safe. Obviously, in 40 years or something, there's been barely any issues ever, but it's a fascinating experience to get closer to wildlife, which you can't often do in other places in Africa. But other than that, the South Luangwa's got nearly the big five. We just haven't got rhino here, but we've got lion, leopard in large numbers, and it's one of the best places in Africa to see leopard, both at night and during the day. We've got wild dog numbers rising all the time, and the South Luangwa is now the place in Zambia where the most wild dog packs are residing. So we're very lucky there, as well as all your usual fantastic suspects like giraffe and elephant, hippopotamus. You might be able to hear that in the background. We've got hippos in the river next to us. Hunt thousands of crocodiles in the river as well. So we don't do boating safaris here. We save that for places like the Lower Zambezi, where you can do safaris from a boat, which is a great contrast to here. Also in the Kafui, you can do boating safaris on the Kafui River. But here in the Luangwa, it's mostly in vehicles or on foot. And just fantastic guiding, which I think really is where Zambia is different to a lot of other places, that the guides are trained to a very high degree, and they know a lot about the animal behavior, the ecology of the park, the history of the park, and explain what people are hearing and seeing, which I think gives another level to the experience in general, you know.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Now, Aid, I know that you guys have been owning Flatdogs now for the last 20 years, and you've done a lot of African safaris. And I mean, if there's anyone that can tell us more about the industry and especially sustainable tourism, it would be you guys. Now, I know that they call you the big Buan out there, right? The do-it-all man.
Some people do, the do-it-all man, yeah. So yeah, one of the things you have to be good at here is doing lots of things, having many strings to your bow, because you can be, you know, dealing with guests, obviously, which is most of what we do, but then you have to fix the plumbing and the electrics and things as well. So yeah, you have to have quite a few skills. Zambia is amazing in what it has to offer. And as Jess was speaking then, I thought about what some of our guests find different about Zambia and what adds to its sustainability. We're lucky we have no fences. We have a lot of protected areas in Zambia. So over 30% of the land in Zambia falls under protected areas. So either national parks or what they call game management areas. So although we sit on the Luangwa River and we look into the national park, we're not actually in a national park, but we are in a game management area, which means we're not allowed to have fences around our camp, and the animal corridors and things are protected. So that, in a sense, adds to the sustainability, because animal movements are free and they're able to move in and out of areas. So during different seasons, they're not restricted where they can go to feed, where they can go and get water. But that also adds to the experience for guests, because we do have elephant coming through camp every day. And we had some guests here the other day who'd only really experienced South African safaris and East African safaris, and they found that not having fences just made the whole 24-hour experience. Their safari didn't stop when they got back into camp. It continued going on, and that's amazing. So Zambia set all that up 40 years ago with the protected areas, and that has driven the way that Zambian tourism plays to the sustainability. It was, in a way, back then, I suppose it was accidental, but it's been a great benefit to Zambia. So at Flatdogs, for instance, we probably don't make enough of it, but we've always supported the conservation organizations, the community projects. We set up a charity 10 or 11 years ago now with some other safari camps where we collaborated, and we set up a charity called Project Luangwa. Now, Project Luangwa focuses on education, but what it does is it looks at where needs are most in this area, so that we're looking after the communities that work with us, because all of our staff come from the local area. Managers, we've got a director who's from the local area. So we promote from within, but to be able to do that, we need to make sure that people have access to education, that girls get educated. So we're trying to get more girls into schools by gender support programs and things. So we support community projects, we support conservation activities through the Conservation South Luangwa, which we give a part of our bed night fee to, and to Project Luangwa as well. But we also support research. So the Zambian Carnival program is something else that we give part of our bed night levy to. So every guest that stays at Flatdogs, whether they put their hand in their pocket when they're here or not, by staying here, they're already contributing to those things which makes the area sustainable. And that is not just something Flatdogs does, it's something that many other operators in the Luangwa and throughout Zambia do. And that is really where the support to the communities in these rural areas is what really makes sustainability a reality, because people need other things to do than make charcoal and grow maize, because those things destroy the habitats that the wildlife and natural resources rely on. So it all links together. And I think Zambia got ahead of the game, maybe by accident, but it's really taken advantage of that.
Absolutely, that's fantastic. So me as a guest, when I do go there, I'm not just only having this fantastic experience, I'm actually helping in conservation as well, right?
Absolutely, and you can go and see those projects in action. Jess has put together a great sustainable package where when you come to Flatdogs, a larger proportion of your fees goes to these activities, but you get to, correct me if I'm wrong, Jess, but I think you get to go out on a research drive with the Zambian Carnival program, or you might be able to if they're doing one. You get to go to the Conservation South Luangwa base and see the scouts and talk to them about picking up snares and what they do in the areas. So
And a community village project that we've set up, which is they earn all the money from visitors going to the village, and all they show people is how they live and what the impacts they have from wildlife, and how it you know, means what they have to do with protecting their crops, and the hard way of living you have to think about when you have people trying to coexist with wildlife rather than trying to get rid of all the wildlife. So it's really an interesting circle. Here in the Luangwa in particular, it's really easy to see both sides of the story.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So me as a visitor, I come for a safari, but then I have the option to actually go and see people living their day-to-day lives and interacting with animals, nature, you know, because that's something that sometimes us living outside of Africa, we don't get to see that. We don't get to experience this difference, you know. It's sort of out of our way of thinking. And now when we do go to your camp, what type of safaris do you guys offer? Do you have just your normal safaris, or is there night drives? What type of safaris in and around the area would we be able to expect?
If I try and explain a typical day, maybe that would make it clear for people how it all sort of works. And we try and start very early in the morning before it gets too hot. So we have 2 seasons here as well in Zambia. Now is winter. So winter's usually from June till the end of August, let's say, when it's cool first thing in the morning and last in the evening after the sun sets. But it's the dry season, so the animals are concentrating along the river. So we go out at 6 o'clock in the morning and come back at about 10. So each activity is about 4 hours. We send tea and coffee or snacks or something with the drive as well, so you can stop and stretch your legs. But then you're basically exploring the park, seeing as much as you can, or you follow an alarm call and you hear something exciting happening and you might try and find the lion or the leopard or whatever it was. And then you just explore learning more about the trees, bird life. We have lots of bird specialists coming here to do photography as well, because we've got 400 plus species of birds here in the Luangwa as well. So you can actually explain to your guide what you're most interested in and go for that and specialize on that on your safaris. So mostly game drives in the mornings and the afternoons. In the afternoon, we start at 4. And this is typical, I think, for most safaris in Zambia. Start again at 4 in the afternoon, stop for sunset, which is usually about 6, because we're that far from the equator that we don't have British summertime type thing here. We just have the same. It gets dark at about 6 every day.
Oh, brilliant.
So when it sunsets, you watch the beautiful African sunset, usually over the river. And then once it gets dark, there's a spotlight, and we use red filters on our spotlights so that animals are less disturbed. And then when you come across something exciting, you might be able to watch a leopard hunting, or, you know, porcupine doing its thing at night, because they don't come out during the day, so you'll never see them before dark. And to carry on until 8 p.m. and that's when the park closes, so that the animals have peace for the rest of the evening. And everyone goes back to their camps to have dinner, and then recount their adventures and tell us all about what they've seen, and we're not jealous at all.
Oh, that sounds lovely.
If people are staying longer as well, so someone might be staying 4 or 5 nights, for instance, we can put together a picnic and we do an all-day drive where you go into far more inaccessible areas normally on a 4-hour game drive. So, you know, we put together a nice picnic, and 4 or 6 people might go out and spend the whole day out there. So it's varied. And again, as Jess says, you tailor it with your guide to what your interests are. So it's very, very flexible. And again, as Jess said earlier, walking safaris are really good. Some people don't like going on walking safaris, but for some, it's the most exciting thing they'll ever do in the bush. Even if you don't see much, it's still exciting.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I think after speaking with you guys and after like having a look through all of Go Zambia, I am burning to get my feet back onto African soil. I mean, it sounds really fantastic, and all of the conservation that you guys do in that and around that area is phenomenal. You guys are really doing a great job. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jessica. I really do appreciate your time, and I hope to see you guys soon.
Oh, you're welcome. Anytime. Cheers. Come and see us.
Thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.